Hi, Sculpture. Welcome to week two. Today and this week, we're going to be going over a major project. So, this video is going to be a little longer than usual. Congratulations to our rainbow artists. I'll try to renew this as projects come up. This week, in summary, we're going to be sketching 5 new prompts, just like we've done weeks prior. You are also, just like weeks prior, going to choose an artist for your own artist spotlight to become aware and involved in the art world nationally and internationally. And we're going to continue to master art skills. This is where the bulk of the video is going to be today, because we're going to talk about light boxes. So, the two following slides, one has to do with sketches. This is a reminder for students who may be new to online sculpture that I do expect sketches every single day, 3 to 5 minutes. And this is a reminder on how to do the artist spotlight or the Freaky Friday if you weren't able to do it last week. And so there's one slide here. And then we're going to hop into our project, and I want to start this pretty quickly here. And so our project going forward for the next 2 weeks are going to be light boxes. Light boxes are layered paper that are bound together with hot glue or with cardboard. And then when you place it behind a light, it creates a scene with the outlines of characters, buildings, or nature. This is going to be a 2 week project. Week one is going to be planning what our light box is going to look like, drawing and cutting a little bit. And then week two, we're going to be cutting for the last bit, and we're going to be actually constructing it. So week one is going to be a very busy week. I would definitely start as soon as possible. So light boxes, week one. I'm going to go over that practice sheet first, since it is a separate grade. You're going to complete the practice worksheet for our fantasy light box, draw our layers, begin cutting. Yep. All right, so this is what the worksheet is going to look like. Essentially, our winter musical is Shrek up here, so we want to create a light box that has to do with something fictional and something that has a story, like a fairy tale or maybe a movie or a cartoon, to stick with that theme. So that way, if we want to put your piece in the art show, it blends in since it is the opening night of the winter musical. So we want to come up with 3 separate ideas over here. This is what the worksheet is going to look like for what our light box could possibly look like. And they're not going to be totally detailed. You just want rough ideas. You don't have to shade them in at all. Except for this one at the bottom. I do want it a little bit shaded in so you understand what's going to be light and what's going to be dark at the end of the day. And so you're going to pick one of your fairy tales or one of your fictional stories up here, and you're going to recreate it again. And we want to avoid details on the inside of the face. We really just want the outside of your characters. And then once you get to the bottom here, you'll need to label what different layers you're going to need to make your picture. So for me, I chose Pocahontas sitting underneath Grandmother Willow, looking for some advice. And I know the worksheet says we'll need about 6 to 8 different layers. And so I have to break up this image and really think to myself, how can I make one picture 6 to 8 layers? So for me, I knew that I would need a lot of layers of leaves. I knew I would need a lot of layers of Grandmother Willow. She would need a background layer, a middle layer, and a face layer, so you could see all of her details. I knew I would need 2 layers for Pocahontas to make sure her hair was darker than her body, and I would also need a layer for the ground here. So you're going to have to look at your picture and really think to yourself, how can I break this up? How can this be different layers? And so when you have created your picture and you know what it's going to look like in the end, you are then going to start drawing layers on cardstock. Cardstock is the paper you got in your sculpture kit. It's a little bit thicker than normal printer paper and it'll hold on to a tinier shape just a little bit better. So when you draw your layers, I want you to include an inch border. This will help us layer on, later on, but you can see here on the screen and here on my little screen that there's a nice thick border, and I've drawn in one of my layers of leaves that I had in the previous picture. And so this is a tiny part of that whole entire picture, but I know I wanted it on a separate layer. I also said that I wanted Grandmother Willow on 3 different layers, and so here's an example. This is just the background for her, and on a different piece of paper I would include the layer for her face, so on and so forth. Here's another leaf layer that I did that was just a little bit different, and you can see I still have that border to help me out. Okay, I hope you're still with me. If you ever get confused, don't worry. We have tutoring on Wednesdays 3 to 4, and you can see me then. So this is what it looks like when you begin to draw all of your layers, when you start piecing them together and breaking up your piece. Most pieces you'll have a border connected to them, but there will be some pieces where you will not have a border. For example, say my Pocahontas here. So she's a little. I don't know if you guys will be able to see everything on her, but she actually has 3 different layers on her between the silhouette, her hair, and then her hair shadows as well. And she does not have a border versus this one, which is eventually cut out, does have a border. I realize this border is just a little bit too thin, so when you make your borders, I want it to be quite thicker. So you can see, yeah, mine is not even half the size. And that made my life very difficult. So I want you guys to have a big border to help you out. And eventually we're going to be cutting out just this area around the leaves, but we're not going to be cutting into our border. Now, I want you to start cutting your layers, but most of the cutting will happen next week, and this will happen with an X-Acto knife. If you don't have an X-Acto knife, you've got to get one. Please contact me as soon as possible so we can get you one. And again, we're leaving our border alone and we're cutting around our layer here. So hopefully this makes sense. We have a lot to go, a lot to do. And if you're confused, please email me or see me for tutoring. Good luck, guys.